Do you remember this, and this ball? Well, now those leagues use this, and this one. While in the year 2015 Neymar and Harry Kane looked like this, now they look like this. The conclusion is clear. Nike lost football. But this kinesiologist appeared who will try to get it back. This is Elliott Hill, the new CEO of the company. His plan, called Win Now, aims to regain the dominance they once had. For Nike, success has never been about protecting our territory. We make others follow our lead. We drive trends, expand markets, and lead. Now, beyond that statement, how exactly do they plan to reconquer football? To find out, we have to go back to the basics and understand how they created that football legacy in the first place. Because certainly, the company was not born with that goal. During its first 30 years, the American brand paid no attention to the world's most popular sport. It was known for its performance in athletics and later in the NBA, thanks to the signing of the great Michael Jordan in 1984. Back then, football was dominated by Adidas and, to a lesser extent, Puma and Umbro. At the World Cup in 1986, the Three Stripes dressed 13 of the 24 participating teams, a number that would even rise to 15 for the 1990 edition. The only involvement Nike had in this sport was outfitting the Portland Timbers in the United States and Sunderland in England. This last one located in Tyne and Ware County, the same where the division of the company in the United Kingdom was located. Even though they would add PSG in 1989, at that time, they had nothing to do with what it means today. Football and the company of the swoosh still weren't in love, although everything would change with the World Cup in the United States 1994. Yes, it took bringing a World Cup to their own backyard for Nike to finally realize what the world's game truly means. A country dominated by basketball, baseball, and American football came to a complete stop. 3.5 million people attended the stadiums. It was a real party, to the point that even Phil Knight himself, the founder of the company, couldn't hide his amazement. In fact, if you're interested in the story, I highly recommend this book, which is his autobiography, where he tells it with great detail, and it's more than recommendable. Days after the final, in which Brazil was crowned against Italy, he declared that Nike would become the #1 football company in the world, and they certainly went to great lengths to make it a reality. At this point, let us break the story into 4 stages. The first goes from that World Cup to the year 2000, and we'll call it birth. Phil and his team focused on players, clubs, national teams, leagues. They were really going for it all. For the next World Cup, France 1998, 6 of the 32 national teams had the swoosh logo on their jerseys. The great achievement was undoubtedly that of the defending champion, Brazil. Nike had paid $200 million distributed over 10 years for this right. That is, $20 million per season. And not only that, they also convinced the great star of the team and the world, Ronaldo, to wear their shoes. Not Cristiano, but Ronaldo Nazario, also known as the Phenomena. For that World Cup, the company designed the famous Mercurial shoes. With a silver base and the colors of Brazil crossing from end to end, it had an immediate marketing impact. Back then, football was played almost entirely with black boots, and it was very rare for someone to dare to change. This was something completely different. David Daly, former company football leader and current director at Fulham, said, "We made footwear that was so different from anything seen before. It was fantastic. That's when we showed the world that we weren't just part of the game, but we were taking it to another level." Maybe they were inspired by what the Air Jordans generated in 1985, when they ignored NBA regulations regarding colors. Going back to football, the key is that it wasn't just Brazil and Ronaldo. The company also got involved with big clubs. Arsenal first, and then the main course, Barcelona. This agreement with the Blaugranas was for 10 years, and included the design of the centenary jersey. That team shone, not only for their talent, but also for their tactical skill. Now, going back to Nike, after what we saw regarding players, clubs, and national teams, we can say without a doubt that their football culture had been born and was ready to revolutionize the industry. So, we enter the second stage of our journey, one that spans from the year 2000 to 2019, and we'll call it the Golden Era. The milestone that kicks it off is none other than the introduction of the Total 90 line. If Phil Knight fell in love with football in 1994, fans fell in love with his company because of these products. The sales strategy behind that iconic line was to bring football to the street, making amateur players feel like they could, and at some point, should have all those products that stars displayed on the field. Let's be honest, who over 25 years old didn't want to wear these silver shoes with the red circle and the number 90 printed on them? The level of detail in the design was remarkable. Notice how the shoelaces were on the side? The idea was to improve the football player's precision when shooting. Another item we can't overlook is this Brazil t-shirt with Ronaldinho's print on the back, a version that would ultimately become the flag of Jogo Bonito. The identity of the products was clearly defined and supported by commercials that were absolutely mad. The teams of Brazil and Portugal facing off in the tunnel, Wayne Rooney and young Torres challenging each other amidst laser beams, Edgar Davis, Guardiola, Nakata, Van Gaal, and company on a mission fighting with samurai to recover a ball. Everything was epic. Players like Ronaldinho, Totti, Henry, Figo, and so many others were the stars of advertising campaigns that are remembered to this day. Even Lionel Messi, a key player for Adidas, wore the total 90. In fact, the story of how he ended up with the German brand after that is quite unique, but we'll talk about it in another video. Undoubtedly, the greatest example of Nike's dominance during this time was signing Ronaldo. This time not the Brazilian one, but the Portuguese Cristiano Ronaldo. His first contract was in 2003, and he continues with the brand to this day. Even in 2016, still in Nike's golden era, they signed a lifetime deal. According to various sources, the player would earn about $30 million annually, not including bonuses and additional amounts for performance. It's believed that each Ballon d'Or ensured him another $4 million. Over time, the brand added different stars, like Neymar, Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, and Erling Haaland. As for clubs, Barcelona and Arsenal were joined by Inter, Manchester United, Chelsea, Manchester City, and Liverpool, among others. Nike's entry had been so strong that they even took over the most prized item on the field, the ball. By the year 2007, they already had the design of the ball for 3 of the 5 big leagues in Europe, the Premier League, La Liga, and Serie A. In particular, this T90 Aero 2 model, iconic for its red stripes on a white background, or purple stripes on yellow, remained in the memory of all football lovers. Finally, the last aspect in which Nike dominated was in the national teams. While as we said, Adidas had 15 teams in the 1990 FIFA World Cup in Italy. For the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, the reigning brand was the American one with 10 teams. In second place was Adidas with 9, and Puma was third with 8. By Qatar 2022, the logo of the swoosh appeared on 13 of the 32 participants, which was a record. 40% of the countries wore the brand. However, as the saying goes, nothing lasts forever. Times changed, and with them, the priorities of the company. Here, we enter the third stage of our timeline, one that begins in the year 2020 with the appointment of John Donahoe as the company's director and extends to his departure in October 2024. We will call it the fall of the giant. Donahoe came to Nike after leading eBay and PayPal, 2 companies that gave him great experience in digital commerce. That's why he had a couple of very clear ideas when taking the reins. First of all, they would focus on boosting sales in their direct channels over third-party stores. This means they would promote their physical stores and digital applications, like sneakers. That direction would improve the profit margin and give them greater control over the whole process, which worked during the pandemic. The second point, even more important for understanding what happened with football, was giving greater priority to its lifestyle product line over high performance. By lifestyle, we mainly mean streetwear that one would wear on a daily basis. Collaborating with Travis Scott on the Air Max was more important than creating a boot that would help Ronaldo strike free kicks better. This resulted in their sports products undergoing a sort of simplification. The creative effort was simply not there. As far as football is concerned, they reduced the relevance of the male side, and also a large part of the sponsorships they had in effect. All of this put the incredible culture they built over more than 20 years at risk. Do you remember that a few moments ago, we mentioned that Nike had 3 of the 5 balls of the major European leagues? Well, they lost all 3. In 2019, La Liga, in 2022, Serie A, and starting in 2025, the Premier League has also switched to Puma. You might say, maybe it's just a repositioning within the football industry. They left those deals to strengthen those of, I don't know, players and clubs. The truth is that no, the leagues were just the tip of the iceberg. As we mentioned in this other video, in the Premier League, Adidas regained all the ground that Nike had taken from it over the past few decades. The latest blow came from Liverpool, which after being champions in the 24-25 season, switched to Adidas from 25 to 26. Meanwhile, Puma took the opportunity and snatched the Portuguese national team, the same one that had starred in legendary commercials during the golden era, and has Ronaldo in its ranks. In fact, the lifelong relationship with the star requires that in photo sessions for the team, for example, his boots are hidden. And although Cristiano remains firm, perhaps regretting having committed for life, there are other players who have indeed left Nike. Neymar and Harry Kane are 2 clear examples. The Brazilian went to Puma in the year 2020, and the Englishman moved to the up-and-coming Skechers in 2023. Along the same lines, the emergence of companies like Castore and New Balance, which have gained ground, also play an important role in this decline. At the end of the day, 4 years after the beginning of this Donahoe era, the conclusion was that his strategy did not work. Not only did the company not increase its revenue, but it actually decreased it. Between 2024 and 2025, their revenue dropped by 10%, and they had to lay off 1,500 employees. That's why, in October 2024, they decided that they needed to change course, or, better said, return to the one that had worked so well for them before. This is how we enter the final stage of our journey, the resurgence. As we mentioned at the beginning, the milestone that marks its start is the arrival of Elliott Hill as the general director. And he is a man of the house. He joined the company in 1988 and has been there for over 3 decades. There was probably no one better than him to identify the essence of Nike and return to it, which is nothing other than high athletic performance. As soon as he took over, he made it clear that he would go on the offensive, something completely in line with the mentality of its founder, Phil Knight. You just have to read the manifesto he wrote in 1980. Point number 2 says, "We're on the offense all the time." That's why Elliott defined his plan as win now, not wait for the future to make the changes that are necessary within the organization. In this sense, he said, "I strongly believe that Nike's path towards sustainable and profitable growth will be through sports." He added, "This new training and working methods will align our 3 brands, Nike, Jordan, and Converse, in more agile teams focused on each sport. Together, we will have a better coordinated attack with each brand, creating a distinctive identity. In the market, organizing ourselves by sport will give us a much clearer perspective. As for football in particular, Nike has already taken the first steps to recover that mystique. First, they opened new stores and reorganized others to give this sport greater significance. One of the best examples is the House of Innovation store in New York. About it, Hill commented, "I toured the facilities, and now we will be able to take the consumer to a world of Jordan, a world of Nike running, and a world of Nike global football. It is an immersive sports experience, and the update has already generated double-digit revenue increases. The second way to reconnect with fans is about returning to the product line that gave them such good results in the past. Yes, we're talking about the revered Total 90. Teams like PSG, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Inter, Chelsea, Tottenham, Corinthians, and Pumas already have game jerseys with this characteristic design for the 2025 to 2026 season. And that's not all. For the more nostalgic, shoes and balls with those iconic designs are being relaunched. Now, any of us can try Roberto Carlos's famous outside free kick or perform Ronaldinho-style magic with some Total 90s. However, the technology behind the new versions is the most advanced in the world. In a way, it's like looking at the future through the lens of a beautiful past. And when it comes to looking forward, Nike has big plans beyond merely recalling old habits. One of the first positive signs in their relationship with the clubs is the renewal with Barcelona. The Culés, after flirting with other brands, decided to extend their agreement until the year 2038 with the American brand. Some sources mention that the economic offer was 1.7 billion euros. Laporta himself has labeled it as the best sportswear contract in the history of football. Although, perhaps the most notable agreement of this new era is the one signed with the German national team, which will come into effect in the year 2027. After more than 70 years with Adidas, this team is going to the competition. For the 3 stripes, this loss became a matter of state. Even the German government itself expressed its displeasure. And the truth is that it is understandable. They were practically there since the start, and the 4 World Cups were won with their logo on the front. Even so, the 100 million euros annually offered by Nike ultimately prevailed, a number that doubled the 50 million that Adi Dassler's family paid annually to the German Federation. Thus, the 2026 World Cup will mark the last one where Adidas dresses Germany. As far as Nike is concerned, the trend is more than clear. They started paying attention to football again. Hopefully, this will be reflected in the designs of the teams they sponsor in the next World Cup, something that was certainly quite disappointing in Qatar 2022. What do you all think? Will it be enough for the American brand to regain the epic status it had 20 years ago? Or is it just the illusion of a past that was better? We will read your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to check if you are already subscribed to the channel. See you next time.